Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. How is everyone? Let me know if you can hear me now. I wish I could see you all. And if you, of course, want to drop in where you are tuning in from. Okay, let's see. All right, so good. Yes, you can hear me now. Woo woo. Awesome. All right, so today we are going to be resting in the heart and really working with those energies that kind of keep the anxiety, the overwhelm running. And it seems that is also really keeps expanding and at a high right now, just by nature of what's going on in the world. So we are all part of the world stage, regardless of how much we tune in or don't tune in. Our personal lives, there's so much available energy right now. And so we really need to use our discernment of where we put our focus, but also how we stay in our bodies and how we nurture our nervous systems. And I've just been hearing people and really listening to folks from all over the globe. And there's just such a theme of overwhelm, of anxiety, of how to stay present and embodied, how to know what's intuition, what's the mind, and really ground. And it's not easy. There's no way around it. It's not an easy path. It's not an easy task to stay present and to stay regulated and grounded in times that we are in and that we will continue to be in. So that's why it's so important. And there's just no way around of having a daily personal practice, like just a daily, no glamour, no nothing, just like sitting down, tending to your breath, tending to your energy body, tending to your nervous system, and the link between the spiritual realms and the nervous system. And that includes beyond the even practices of grid work or working with your crystals or all the tools we have. There's a difference between our own personal devotional practice, devotion to our inner world and that connection to the other world, and the connection to our hearts, and then the tools that we know as healers, as seers, as witches, out in the world doing our service work, but those two are not the same. And I think sometimes, especially in different communities, that can get a little bit muddled. So if you are going out to work on some land and it's a beautiful service project of, really connecting with the nature spirits, doing whether it's apacheta work or grid work, and that is an incredible service to do, and it's so important, but that does not take precedent over your personal practice. And I think that's where we can get a little off, is when we get so excited, and the tools are so beautiful and the rituals and the ceremonies are also important. But what really is going to help us also be able to hear more clearly, be able to connect genuinely with the energies in the other world, and have good relations with nature, with different different ascended beings. Like we need to have a really solid practice within our own central channel, within our own chakra work, within our breath, and know like how can we go from running anxiety, overwhelm into the central channel and feeling in the present moment, feeling in our bodies, and feeling that sense of when you can just exhale and feel peace. And from there, we can listen. From there, we can start dialogue of being a walker between the worlds, really listening. So often I get the question of what's the difference between my intuition? How do I know if it's a real communication or if it's just the higher mind faculties? So, and that's a really important question. And often, if we haven't cleared out our system and really know like what is our voice, what is the voice of our higher self, then, it can be touch and go, like whether it's a genuine like download, a genuine communication from an actual other being, like a true mystical experience versus in our own archetypal world. And there's nothing wrong with being in our own archetypal world, but there is a very distinct difference. Getting back to the overwhelming anxiety. So those are like the big themes that I see is like, how do we know what's real? I mean, I think that's a good question right now in general in the world. How do we know it's real? Our discernment is so important. And then how do we work with this energy of anxiety, of overwhelm? Because the more that we're in practice, the more that we are tending to our inner temple, the more sensitive we are. And I'm sure most of you who are listening are already came into this world very sensitive, and it's been a process of how to ground, how to navigate your family dynamics, the world dynamics, your community being this sensitive. And so we just become more sensitive. And when we're more sensitive to all of the energies, as the polarity, as the duality, as the tension is like just ramping up, like it is intense, the polarity and if we go into the archetypal language of the battle of the dark and the light. And so it's just so important to tend to your nervous system, tend to your spiritual heart, which is different than the emotional body, is different than the emotional heart. And so I'll guide us through an experience of feeling the difference. And anxiety is, if we break it down, right, what is anxiety? It's when we are in the future. And so we're out of our bodies. We're worried about the future. We're thinking about X, Y, and Z of the future. And then there's also just like the unknown and how to become comfortable with the fact that like none of us really know what's going to happen, what's been happening. Like we just don't know. Even the best psychics, the best seers, the astrologers, yada, yada, yada. It's just like, yes, they're more educated guesses, people who really have spent their lifetime learning how to read energies. But then at the end of the day, there's plenty of like, even like the best of everything. Like it just doesn't land the way that people see, because we are always going to be coming through our filter to some degree. So there's this unknown, right? And how anxiety really revs up in our system is that our personal world then interfaces the unknown, and the unknown on a bigger scale. And it can be just like scary as fuck. And just like then our whole nervous system is like mayday, mayday, because we're tuning in also to the collective that's going mayday, mayday, right? I was, just like some of the memes even now are just like, okay, well, now that the apocalypse is happening, I'm just worried about like, I forgot what it was. It was a funny thing about ordering my cat X, Y, and Z, like while the world's ending, and the fact that we're living in a time that these are the memes, like it's funny but not funny. It's like it's a real thing right now of such uncertainty on a global scale. Like there's always been uncertainty. you know um our parents that grew up in the Cold War, then there's our grandparents. There's always been something where each generation has felt like, is this it, right? To some degree. There's the Vietnam War. There's these big things that we really didn't know what was going to happen. However, because of the internet, because of the way that we're globally connected, it's now on a global scale. And I do believe energetically that is like also what's tipping us over on the edge of our nervous systems, not entrained, not being able to handle some of that unknown on that big of a collective energetic scale. So, one of my dear mentors, super amazing, wise woman, Jyoti Ma, always says, like, just stay behind the medicine. Just stay behind your medicine. And what she means by that is don't get ahead of yourself. And how we don't get ahead of ourselves is by we stay in the present moment. And we stay in the present moment in our hearts. And the more that we can practice this while we wash the dishes. We can practice this, of course, when we're meditating, but we practice this in real life. The more when you can feel that tipping point of your nervous system starting to go into anxiety or overwhelm, you have some grooves, some neurological pathways that have been carved out to rely on, and you're like, oh, okay, I know how to do this. So I'm going to show you a breath work that's really helpful for calming anxiety. It brings on the parasympathetic nervous system, calms the sympathetic nervous system. It works with the heart. And then we'll go into a meditation to really anchor in, to see, like, first what's there in your heart, and then really work with those pockets of anxiety and overwhelm and get a taste of the spiritual heart. Because the spiritual heart, it being different necessarily than the emotional heart, the spiritual heart is really about oneness. It's about peace. It's that relaxing into the unknown. It's that faith. It's that place of just deep, deep, deep trust. And if we peel off all the different, issues right now or things that are going on in our lives, the core of it would be trust. How well do we trust that there is a benevolent force, that there is this unified field of love, that there is dialogue that we are able to have that's genuine? Right? So it's not just about, like, oh, we can pick oracle cards or like sit on these things and like special moments or retreats. But when the shit really hits the fan, like, do we have that access within ourselves, like that trust of, we're going to be guided to exactly where we need to be at any given moment because we have access to our heart's wisdom. We have access to that connection to all that is. Are we in that? And again, it's not easy for sure, but I think that's the place to really look at, like, how much do you trust in your life? And I don't mean trust, something externally, because that's always going to be changing. We have no idea what's, going to be happening or not happening, tomorrow, or we really, it's just such that place of trusting in your life's unfoldment, trusting that just like in each moment that you have gotten through in the past that's been intense, or moments where you didn't think you would survive, or that the pain was too much, or it might have been through the death of a loved one or divorce or a change in jobs, like, but you got through and somehow it ended up being better. We all kind of think have those moments. And so how do we really have that resilience and have that devotional and build that muscle of trust to that devotion? So I could go on and on, but we'll just leave it at that. How's everyone doing out there? I'm just going to take a sip of tea first. All right. So the first thing I want to show you before we get into it is a really helpful breath to, again, calm the nervous system, go from sympathetic nervous system response to parasympathetic response. It activates the heart center, and it's a very cooling breath. So it's good for any kind of heated moment. So anxiety, overwhelm, anger, just like when you need real, like, a help to just get yourself back into your central channel. And it's going to be using the O-shaped mouth. And it's going to be using the inhale, where you're going to breathe in through the mouth. You're going to pause at the top, and then it's an exhale through the nose. And then we're going to place our hands. Let's see, I'll just do this for a second. Where one hand right underneath your heart, your right hand on top of your heart. So it's like you're sandwiching your heart center. So I'll give an example. Pause at the top. Relax. Focus is at the third eye. Exhale through the nose. Nice and slow. And when you're doing the breath, what you want to do is have your focus on the inhale. So you're inhaling through the mouth, but your focus is going to be really getting just like moment by moment on your central channel. So that breath is just going right up that central column, going to end at the point between the eyebrows, the third eye. Hold at the top and then exhale, and just feeling that energy go back down your central channel. So I'm going to keep my video on for the breath part. So as always, get comfy. Take a couple minutes to get comfy. Yeah, if you want to do any thumbs up to the you got the breath part. This is one of my favorite breaths. Being a Kundalini yoga teacher for many, many, many moons. And this actually breath is in many different trainings and different traditions. So right hand above, is that right? Yeah, right hand, left hand below. I might be mirrored, so I might look different on the video, but it's right hand above, left hand below. You're like sandwiching your heart chakra. All right, loves, let's begin by closing the eyes. And just take a couple deep breaths, saying hello to your system, hello to your body. Taking a few breaths just to summon yourself to yourself, to this present moment. Both palms down on the hand position. Yeah, so just feel your seat. Feel where you're sitting, whether it's on the floor, in a chair, on the couch. Just let yourself arrive with the inhalations and the exhalations. And then now bringing your right hand and your left hand sandwiching your heart center. Your right is on top, palms facing down, eyes closed. Creating an O shape with your mouth. You're going to inhale through the mouth, focusing on the in breath going up your central channel. Pause at the top of the third eye and exhale through the nose. Nice and slow. You're going to go at your own pace, your own rhythm. Exhale after the pause at the top. Keep going. Inhale slowly through that O-shaped mouth. Just a couple more rounds. completing this last round, you can just pause, notice what you notice. Saying hello to that base center, the root of your spine. Saying hello to that grounding cord that's as wide as your hips. It goes all the way into the earth. All the way into the center of Pachamama, Mother Gaia. And saying hello to the top of your head, your crown center. Allowing the petals to unfurl to the place where your crown feels most supportive, most nutritive for you at this time. We don't want your crown too expansive where it feels too much, too open. We also don't want it too contracted. So just breathe and notice what you notice. And return your awareness to your sacred heart, right in the center of your chest. Just noticing how your heart center feels in this moment. We're going to ask for the emotional heart. The emotional body, the heart center, and the emotional body. So the focus is still the same, but we're just kind of tuning the radio station to a different frequency, a different curiosity. Just notice what you notice, if anything shifts when you tune into your heart center at the emotional body level, right still in the center of your chest. Just breathing into your heart, the front of the heart and the back of the heart on the emotional body, your heart center on the emotional body level. And just asking for the anxiety that might be resting in your heart on the emotional level. If this anxiety had a color, what would it be? And just notice what you notice in your heart center. Tuning in to see if there's any anxiety. And if there is, if it had a color, what color would it be? Nothing necessarily to do here. We're just observing the anxiety. Does it have a story? See if you can notice. You might notice that it's particularly shows up blue, and that blue turns into anxiety about an event coming up. And just notice the energies with the frequency. Notice the fact that you get to notice that there is a witness consciousness, that you are not this color of anxiety, you are not this story, that there is a you that is witnessing and getting curious about the energy, the frequency that is this anxiety. So you just get to celebrate and notice that there is a part of you that's not enmeshed with this anxiety. Good. We're just going to thank this energy for now. Thank the heart at the emotional body as we will be back to it. And now bring your awareness, calling forth, asking to sense your heart at the spiritual heart level. So your focus is still right in the center of your chest, but now we're going to ask for the spiritual heart level. So feeling into the heart at the spiritual level. And what do you notice? Feeling into the frequency of the spiritual heart. Good. I'm just asking the spiritual heart right in the heart center. Expand just a little bit more. Just allow yourself to soak up the frequency of your spiritual heart. And from here, asking the spiritual heart, linking the spiritual heart to your emotional body. So same center, same right in the center of the chest. We're asking our spiritual heart, the spiritual frequency, to offer some of its energy, some of that unique frequency to the emotional body heart. So perhaps you see that color of the anxiety that was in the emotional body getting nourished by the spiritual heart. Just allowing these two energies to merge. Just breathing, feeling this peace. What would it feel like if your precious heart on the emotional level, that place where we can get overwhelmed or anxious, what would it feel like to remember the oneness, the peace, the present moment? Just feel, breathe. When the mind wanders, just bring it back to the heart. Staying devoted to your heart and allow the healing. And now we're inviting in the rose frequency. Just simply that, simply staying right in your body, right at the heart center on all levels. Just your heart chakra, this sacred temple, the holy of holies within your energy system, within your body. Magnetizing, inviting in the rose frequency. Without story, just being curious what happens when you invite in the rose frequency right into your heart center. And if there's any area of your life that you would like some healing or specific energy given to it, just feel into that part. It could be your body, it could be any worry. Just allowing the rose frequency to come into your being. Sensing however the energy shows up for you. And allow. When the mind wanders, just bring it back to the heart. Just allowing that intention to waft away like clouds, sinking the rose frequency. And just letting your awareness rest in your whole body and the space around your body. Feeling the breath rise and fall on your central column, the central channel. Feeling into who you truly are. You're beyond your thoughts. You're beyond your emotions. And before we complete, just asking the field, yourself, your higher self, what is one thing that you can do to help nourish your nervous system, help nourish your sacred heart? You were born at this time on this planet for a reason. You have the strength, you have the radiance that is needed to get through these times. So just asking, what is one thing that you can turn your awareness to be devoted? And now letting your breath deepen, start to become aware of the temperature of the air of the room you're in. You can wiggle your toes and your fingers and begin to come back to the world of the senses, back to this 3D reality. Allow yourself to arrive back in a new field, really new reality for your day. We change our field, we change our energy, we change the external. And welcome back, welcome back. As always, I'd love to hear how you're feeling, if there is a shift, any transformation. And I really encourage you to come back to this practice. It's a relatively short practice you can do on your own, where if you're having a day that feels extra overwhelming or anxious, I know if I have a disturbing dream, I wake up and my nervous system's like starting the day in a place of activation in a way that's not necessarily centered. So, it can be simple doing the breath. You can even just count 5 rounds, can even help to like shift the activation in your nervous system. Oh, it's so soothing. So good. So good. And this is a really easy is kind of an interesting, it's easy. It's simple, but maybe not easy to keep our focus, keep our devotion. And again, all of these practices, if you've been with me, you've been listening to some of the videos, whether live or the replay, is really to know thyself and to know thyself beyond just the material world. We know now that like that concept that the world is just material is like not even like a question anymore. You don't have to be put in the like far out there camp or um, it's so know thyself, know your energy, and know, especially if you're a highly sensitive person like myself, which so many of you I know are, is it's it's time to take extra care. Like it's kind of a non-negotiable now. So times you can even just sit in your car, feel if you feel the overwhelm, if you feel the worry or just angst, feeling into that emotional body, okay, that's activated. And then tune into your spiritual heart because I'd love to hear if you felt the difference. The spiritual heart is really going to be that pathway to when we say higher, just a different frequency, the frequency that can hold trust, that can hold oneness, compassion. Um, there's different levels of relating in the heart in the Karo tradition I've been studying with in the Andean tradition for about a decade now. There's so many different levels of what they call munai, the energy of the heart. There's so many different ways, energies. So the more we can know ourselves, the more we can really be empowered and sovereign to be able to be more effective in our lives, more compassionate with ourselves and our families. And the more we can listen to see what the next step is, so many folks I talk to, and it's true for myself, it's like that question of like, what now? Are we like moving to like off the grid? The shit's going down. And, we've really, it's interesting since 2020 it's like we've been in like a snow globe in a different way than we've been before. So there's this way of trusting that the right next step will arise, and that might be the right next step of what you're going to have for dinner that's nourishing for you and your family. That might be a move, that might be saying no to certain dynamics that aren't serving you and that you are growing and evolving at such a pace that the 3D world that you live in now is not going to be able to hold that frequency. And there's always that rub, right? There's always that tension, that breakthrough into the new birth. So it's happening on such a global level and it's happening on such a personal level. So it's really these small, simple, maybe not easy tools are really so important. And we used to have to like go away from society and be in different secret societies, different ashrams, to learn these techniques. There's so much available now that we can use in our modern life that's really quite important to be able to get through the eye of the needle of this time of prophecy and the time of the great turning. So I'm just going to read some of these. My spiritual body, gift, my emotional body, heart center, brilliance and ease. Ah, beautiful. My emotional body felt heavy responsibility. You felt a shift. Oh, so good. So good. So if you have difficulty discerning between the emotional body and the spiritual body, it's simply just revisiting it. So the emotional body, we have the physical etheric body, which is the blueprint for our physical body. So we have the physical body, right? We have the physical body, the physical etheric body. Then we have the emotional body, we have the mental body, and we have the spiritual bodies. And many different, energy medicines work in these different realms. I know Barbara Brennan had they names it a little bit differently with the different layers of the field. I've been studying esoteric healing. It's named that way in the Tibetan, different healing modalities. It's named something else, but it's the same concept. There are these different frequencies that make up the totality of our auric field. And, we draw them on a piece of paper. Like if I was to draw in this very bad, you have, concentric circles. Sorry, this is going to be really bad and you might not be able to see it. So these concentric circles, right? It looks like it's like out here, but it's really just different frequencies. So we're changing the frequency. The mental body is at a different frequency than the emotional body, but it's still occupying the same space. I'm sure some AI will create 3D, like good, what's it called? Visual for you, but there's this way that, we're in this, our energy body, right, surrounds us, and the field informs our physical body, right? So when we have a headache, the actual seed of a headache will start in the energy body before it gets to the physical body. And so when we are getting really specific, like we can say like energy body, physical body, and we can get that broad, and that's helpful sometimes. But then the more refined we can get, it's just similar to anything that you're learning, that you go out bird's eye and then you get really specific, the more fine tuned you can be with certain adjustments. So I can work with someone on their third chakra, like on a general, let's work at the third chakra. Okay, that's how you digest life and power. But then we can get really into the detail of the emotional body and the liver on the, emotional body level. We can get really specific. So in terms of, it's going back to your question, Mary, sorry, little circuitous motion there. I'm very much still in my right brain. I'm like, okay, left brain, find words, find the words. So when you're in the space of your heart center, it has many different layers of frequency, many different layers that we can look at, diagnostics we can work with. And so when you're working with the heart center, this is a good fun practice to learn to discern different levels of your emotional body. You can sit with your heart center, physical, etheric, emotional, mental, spiritual. Like we're adding, so you can get just being curious of like, oh, what did that feel like? But for this one, it's like, okay, feeling into the emotional body with the heart center. And it really just takes practice. This might be the first time you've ever done this. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, which is a little bit crazy, but, and then, so there's a way of like emotional body, heart center. Okay. You can feel, that's where a lot of the muck is. If you go to the mental body on the heart level, it's a different vibe all completely. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Stay behind the medicine is so the emotional body on the heart level, and just sit with it. Sit with like, okay, there's the anxiety, there's the overwhelm, because already you're shifting the narrative. Already you're going into healing by simply witnessing what you experience, right? When we're so in the throes of anxiety or overwhelm, there is no separation. We are the anxiety. So once we can get witness consciousness, once we can unenmesh, then we can get curious. Okay, just sit. Presence. Presence is the number one healing energy, like when we give our presence to ourselves. So feeling into the emotional body, and then asking for your spiritual heart. So the heart center on the spiritual body level. And it's the spiritual body level is very refined. It's very, very fine. It's the place of oneness. It's the place of just very high frequencies, and that body will start to get stronger. But at first it can feel, because it's so refined, it can sometimes feel hard to feel, because the denseness of the mental body and the emotional body is like, oh, I know what that emotional heart feels like. It's like, boom, it's right here. But the spiritual body is might even feel like almost like a cloud, and it's, oh my gosh, y'all, I'm so sorry. I cannot find words to like from that. Okay. It's more refined. So it might be hard to like put your finger on, so to speak. But the more you practice just feeling into the spiritual heart. Okay, kind of got it. All right. Okay, go back to the emotional body, got the heart there, and just like teeter totter, feel into it so you can really learn to discern. And then that way too, like when you're really activated, like asking like which part is activated. Sometimes we think it's our emotional body that's activated, but it's really our mind. It's like we think we're having feelings, but we're actually having thoughts. And that thought is creating a reaction in our nervous system. And so we think we're having this like feeling, but it's really a thought. But that's a whole other topic. I hope that was helpful. Leah, I felt like my emotional heart was so superficial and acute, like a wounded child energy, and the spiritual heart felt so royal, like I shifted into an indigo temple with spiritual fire at the center. Beautiful. And that really is how it is, right? So our emotional body, it's that little girl, our inner child that just needs help, needs that awareness, like, okay, what's the frequency? And if you're visual, it just helps sometimes to like name, like, okay, if that anxiety has a color, oh, it's dark blue. Okay, what is that? So again, you're getting separation from the actual frequency that is enmeshed with your nervous system. Similar to internal family systems work. I think we've talked about this in different courses. IFS work. It's similar to internal parts, right? So you're looking at what is that part inside me, and it is wounded child. Like so much of our anxiety is that little girl, little boy that's just like, fuck, this is scary. And I don't really know what to do. And I'm little and it goes usually, we've had to do way more for our emotional selves, for our physical selves um, when we were younger instead of being parented. So this is like, these are different languages, different lenses to how do we parent ourselves to the place of royalty that we are. So that royalty, that spiritual heart, that place that trusts, that place that can have compassion, the place that doesn't get so activated when it's like, oh, this thing is going on in the world and there's so much drama. It's like, I just am like, God, humanity loves the drama, man. It just loves the drama. And it's like that enmeshment, whether you're the drama of like, I was just on YouTube of like, oh, the whatever aliens, da 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 da. I mean, there's just drama. And that's fine. And it's good. Like I love my like drama shows sometimes, but just like be witnessed to it. I'm kind of getting on a tangent, so I'll stop. But, it's like, how do we really take care of those parts that need that parenting from a spiritual level to the emotional body level? And we're all like, if you're on this and you're sticking with me for almost an hour and you have been, it's like you are serious about being on the path of spiritual awakening and evolution. And what that really means is maturation. It's like, do I want to sit down and meditate every day? No. And do I know? I mean, I don't. I used to and I try to and I'm in the rhythm. Sometimes I'm like so on it and sometimes I'm not. And, but it's like, okay, like, but we have to, we don't think about brushing our teeth anymore. We just do it because we know that's like we need good health in our teeth. So it's the same thing. It's like that spiritual maturation of devotion, discipline, learning, know thyself. We weren't taught who we are, like truly, truly who we are, how to navigate our system. So even if you take all the supplements in the world and, you might not be on the like Western mainstream medicine, and maybe you are, and that's fine too, but you might be on the alternative medicine, but things still are not shifting. It's like, okay, well, everything starts in the energetic. Everything, everything, everything. Everything has its blueprint in the energetic before it lands. And so whether, you need to have nettles to build the blood or do this other thing to help your headache, like those are all important things to do. But the start of the reason why your energy is off, why something is gone awry is always going to be the root of it's in the energetic. So the more we can know thyself, know ourselves on the energy level, empower ourselves that like we know how to adjust. This is why I do these, where it's experiential, where you feel yourself doing it. I was a one-on-one and esoteric energy healer and teacher for many, many years. And I would go in and it's like, I'm doing it for you, which is fine. But it's just like, it's not enough anymore. I'm only one person. Like, it's like we all need to know how to navigate our energy bodies, because that's when we can really pull in and within, like, our awakened heart can blossom is the way that we are in alignment with what is truth. It's the way that we can be in alignment with true light, with true experiences and of the divine and true mystical experiences, and not get like swayed in the astral realms. It's really important. So I feel pretty passionate about it, as you can tell, and I want to honor everyone's time. And thank you for being with me, and thank you for keep showing up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And if you think this would be helpful for others, please share with your friends. And I will see you next week. All right, be well.